in 1958 until the late 90s. We would now like to welcome in our first class. There's one entry in this class, percentage does, age 0 to 3 months.
Well, good evening. And I'm certainly honored and feel good about being able to judge here. This was, I grew up in Indiana, but I was actually born in Kentucky, but don't tell everybody that. But it has always seemed like our state fair, even though we live in Indiana. Just love the people down here, love the facility, and certainly honored to be able to do this. This first class is 0 to 3s. We've got one that's certainly got some future and some come to her. One that's extended and elegant up through her front end. Got a nice foot size and bone to her. She's structured really nice. Like to blow her apart, I guess, if I was going to criticize her any, just give her more rib shape, a more middle body shape, just rounder, more barrel in her. And I'd like to, as she moves away from you and comes at you, she gets pretty narrow at the ground. And I think if she was blown apart, that would help her as far as her base width. But a really nice doe and certainly deserving a blue ribbon. Thank you.
Congratulations to Jason Bashir in first place with Backwoods Asteroid. If we could now have class 2, percentage does aged 3 to 6 months enter the ring. And if we could also have class 3 enter the makeup ring, that's ages 6 to 9 months.
really nice class in this 3 to 6 percentage old class. I think there's some gives and takes in this class, but I think when you analyze these as they stand out here and compare each other, we certainly got the boldest, heaviest bone, heaviest footed doe to start the class with. One that you have to appreciate the weight she has per day, and still she has a nice feminine neck and head up to her, nice boar shaped head. One, if I'd change anything about her as she goes around the ring, you'd like to ease her up in that top. Once you get a little tense in that top, maybe roach a little bit as she goes around the ring, I'd like to change that about her. One that's really fascinating to me is this one in second. One that, when you compare to the first place doe, not near as much doe, but I can see a great future in this doe. When you look at her head and how big Roman nose she's got, and so extended up to her front end, and really moves sound off of both ends. She's just really green. And I think as she matures and you get more weight on her, I think she'll give that first place doe certainly run for money. Then we got the third place though, one that to me just a little bit weaker as far as you view her from the side as she moves around the ring. She wants to get a little weak right in that hock area, and as you view her from behind, she wants to hawk in just a little bit. Those hawks get pretty close. One that's got a tremendous soft center and spring rib to her. One that this young man should certainly be proud of. Congratulations.
Congratulations to all of our exhibitors in this class. Coming in first place, we had Crystal O'Connell with Legally Blonde. In second, we had Jason Brashear with Backwoods South of Sanity. And in third, we had Jason Brashear with Backwoods California Love. Coming into the ring now, we will have. Sorry. Coming into the ring now, our next class will be Class 3, Doe Kids, aged 6 to under 9 months. If we could please have Class 4 wait in the makeup ring.
I think we've got a tremendous amount of quality in this class. I think it's a pretty close placing in my mind between this first and second place doe. I feel like the second place doe maybe a little more thicker down the top and down through that leg. But as you compare to the first place doe, I don't think she's near as long a spine. I don't think she's as high to the point of the shoulder. Don't think she's extended as much up through her front end. But I think there's enough muscle in this first place doe to go on and mature to be a tremendous brood doe. And I think she's got a lot of come to her, probably a little more future to her than her second place doe, in just my opinion. I really like second place doe. I just don't. I think maybe she's a little more terminal or a little more moderate in her overall frame size, and I prefer the larger or the more extended does up through the front end. Then we got a third place doe that's just green, and as you get your hands on her, uh, you really have to appreciate the amount of muscle she has to be that green. One that really doesn't have any holes in her as far as analyzing her, but she's just not enough dough there yet. Yeah, and then the fourth place doe in this black doe, I like her for really well from her hip forward. I'd like to change the way she comes out of her hips. She wants to go a little bit steep and a little bit narrow in that pin setting. If I could blow her apart to where she moved a little wider at the ground on both ends, I think she can move up in the class. But a really good class with a lot of quality in it.
Congratulations to all of our competitors in this class. In first place, we had Logan Holland with Phoenix Rising. In second, we had Logan Holland with Just in Time. In third place, we had Jason Bashir with Country Line Cred. Excuse me. And in fourth place, we had Jason Bashir with Mad Hatter. Coming into the ring next, we have Class 5, our junior champion doe. If we could please have Class 6. Nope. Sorry.
While we're doing junior championship drive, if we could go ahead and have class 7 yearling does 12 to 16 come to the makeup ring, please.
Really nice quality in this junior drive, this first drive of the show. I think as you analyze these, I think there's two in here that you just can't split up as far as uh, their body style, the shape that they have, and it was a close placing in class. The two older does will be your champion reserve juniors.
Congratulations to all of our exhibitors in this class. Our junior champion is Logan Holland with Phoenix Rising, and our junior reserve is Logan Holland with Made Just in Time. Now, welcoming our next class is Class 7, yearling does 12 to under 16 months with one competitor. If we could please have Class 8, yearling does 16 to under 20 months, enter the makeup ring.
really a nice single entry. One that I just love this color. I guess it's a flea bitten gray. Is that what you would call her? I know that's what you'd call in a horse, and I think kind of think that's always been one of my favorite colors in a horse. But this doe's got a lot of quality to her. One that's really soft centered, got a big old rib in her, really got a big old chest in her, but not too much. It's just deep in that rib cage, and she goes up through the front end. She just carries that width and that just really stout. If you change her any, like to make her rib longer probably, but she's soft center and make a really nice stove for this young man.
Congratulations to Jason Brashear with Backwoods Smoke Show coming in first. Now we're entering the ring. We will have Class 8 yearling does 16 to under 20 months. If we could have Class 9 yearling does 20 to under 24 months, enter the makeup ring, please.
Really, two does out here that completely different as far as their moderation is concerned, as far as size and scale. But the doe, this traditional doe, just really nice to the point of the shoulder. Got it really extended up to her neck and head. Got a nice shaped Boer head on her. Just a really good doe. If it change anything about the doe as she goes away from me, she gets a little bit narrow. But that's being pretty picky on a really nice doe, and I really appreciate this doe a lot as far as the amount of muscle she has in her in relation to her frame size. The dapple doe in second one is more moderate in her size, not nearly as extended up through that front end, not as elegant up through that front end as our first place traditional doe. But one, you have to appreciate her on the amount of spring rib that she's got, the softness of center body. One, you get her mated to a little taller, more muscular, trimmer buck. I think it would be a really nice brood doe for this young man.
Congratulations to Jason Brashear in both first and second place with number 16, Good Lord Lori, and Backwoods Devil's Dance. Coming into the ring now, we will have Class 9 yearling does 20 to under 24 months, and after this will be our yearling champion drive.
Here's another really nice single entry, one that's certainly could use a lot of more competition than what she's got today. One that's really balanced as far as her overall type and kind. She's never going to be a great huge doe, but I think she's certainly big enough. One, as you view her from the side, maybe like to clean her up right in that chest floor, pick her up and make her a little bit tighter right in that chest floor. But as she goes around the ring, she's certainly flexible, really wide at the ground on both ends. Just a very nice, complete doe to win this class that could use a good bit of competition.
Congratulations to Madison Baker coming in first place with Allison's Peppermint Kiss. Coming into the ring now, we'll have our yearling championship drive. And in the makeup ring, if we could get class 12, senior does 24 to under 36 months.
Not a lot of numbers, but certainly some quality in this uh, yearling drive in these percentage does. I think we've got two does out here that kind of logically you're going to use. One really elevated to the point of the shoulder extended up to her front end. Maybe not got the amount of body or maybe the softness of body. Center rib is the other doe that's in contention. But she certainly elevated to that front end, one that muscular down that top and down through that leg. If I changed her any, I'd like to maybe pick her pins up just a hair, make them a bit wider, but one that really doesn't have any obvious faults to her. Then the doe right behind her is the other one in contention as far as I'm concerned. One that probably not as elevated to the point of that shoulder. I don't think she's extended up to her front end, but doe it's really complete in her overall style and balance. Got a lot of muscle to her, got a lot of shape of muscle to her, and softness of center of body. But to me, the one that suits me most is really more my kind is the doe that's in the center will be your champion yearly. Then the doe right behind her will be your reserve.
Congratulations to Jason Brashear coming in first with Backwoods Good Lord Lori. And congratulations to Madison Baker coming in second with Allison's Peppermint Kiss. Coming into the ring now, we will have Class 12 Senior Does 24 to under 36 months. And coming to the makeup ring, can we please have Class 13 Senior Does 36 months and over?
Uh, we raise a lot of goats, seems like, and I really like the uh, type and kind of this doe I'm starting with. One that's just naturally thick. She's got naturally got some muscle to her. Still, she's really soft through that center. Really a brood doe looking doe, and as you see her udder and the shape of her udder, you certainly think that doe or the kid's going to be able to nurse her without any trouble. Now, I maybe to be ideal in my mind, make her teeth are just a little big around at the top, and I like to probably change that about her, but that's being really nitpicky on a very good animal. Then we've got one that's certainly in her working clothes, and this red paint doe, one that's not as big a beast as the doe ahead of her, but she's in her working clothes, and you can tell, she's a good mama, and that's what we need in all these things, and I certainly think she qualifies.
Congratulations to Callie Yates in first place with Melania, and congratulations to Jason Bashir in second place with Backwoods Rhinestone. Coming into the ring next, we will have Class 13 Senior Does 36 months and over, and after that, we will have our Senior Champion Drive.
Really a useful pair of those in this class. I think there's some gives and takes in these two. Certainly, my biggest concern is probably the udder quality of this first place doe versus the quality in our red doe. I think, you'd like to change that, but, it appears to be soft and you'd like to make it smaller in circumference and to shrink it up, but probably she's had a single, maybe more than once. Twice, yeah, and he's nursed that one side, and that you got to consider that, I guess, when you're judging. Now, I prefer the shape of the udder on our dapple doe, and second, she's just a little too moderate for me. I'd like to see her more extended up through her front end. I'd like to see pull a little bit of juiciness off of her, as my wife would say, because she's got plenty juicy, I think. But when you compare the two, I think that who we're starting with is just more muscular, sounder in her movement, bigger bone, bigger footed, but nice pair of those.
Congratulations to Jason Bashir coming in both first and second with 2 different goats. And coming in next, we will have our senior championship drive. And after that, if we could have all of our grands and reserves return to the makeup ring for the overall percentage dough drive.
Really a pretty easy decision in my mind. Uh, I'm going to use the younger doe for champion, and the doe right behind her for reserve. But you hear people talk about having that tubular deal and one with a maternal wedge to her. Certainly, neither one of these does are tubular at all. But the one that I'm going to use for champion, the younger doe, she's really got a maternal wedge. She's deep right in that flank area. She's got a nice shape udder. She gets up to a nice chest depth, one that I'd like to clean her up right in that chest area, right there in that chest floor, but one that's really, as far as the two does are concerned, I think she's more ideal than my reserve. The little girl will be your champion, and then the little boy there right behind her will be the reserve.
Congratulations to Callie Yates winning first with Melania. And congratulations to Jason Brashear coming in second. Coming in next, we will have all of our grands and reserves return for the overall percentage Bordeaux championship drive. If we could go ahead and have our first class for the full blood Bordeaux 0 to 3 months enter the makeup ring.
We get out here for a grand percentage. As you view these goats from the profile, I think you can see they're really, as they age, they kind of age appropriate as they go up. They're keeping quality, they're growing, and still they're back to our production female, one that's really in production. You have to appreciate that about her. Then you go over on the other side of your second places, and you look at your uh, second place junior or reserve junior, and then your reserve yearling. They're basically cut out of the same mold too. But consequently, they're in second. I prefer the little taller, leaner kind of goats. So they're going to, champion reserve is going to come out of this line next to us. The little red doe junior is going to be champion, and the yearling's going to be reserved.
Congratulations to our Congratulations to our overall grand champion percentage doe, to Logan Holland with Phoenix Rising, and congratulations to our overall reserve, Jason Bashir with Good Lord Lori. Coming into the ring next, we will have our first full-blooded Boer does class with Class 1 doe kids age 0 to 3 months. If we could have Class 2, please enter the makeup ring. Apologies, we need Class 2 to enter, and if we could have Class 3 in the makeup ring, please.
At this time, if we could go ahead and get our first class, which is Class 2 doe kids 3 to 6 months for full blood does. We're looking for 2 entries, Lola Holland and Tanya Ryan. We're looking for your entries, please, to come to the ring. At this time, if we could also go ahead and get Class 3 6 to 9 months doe kids to go ahead and go to the makeup ring. We're looking for 5 entries there.
Check, check. Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check. 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Check. Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check. Check.
Go ahead. This class of 3 to 6 full bloods. I think we've got one that started class and wins the class quite easily. One that's certainly the biggest as far as You can see from the outside she's the biggest per day of age. You'll appreciate that about her. But there's also the most quality to her. One that's really thick down that top, down through that leg. One's got big old bone uh, and big foot size to her. Still, she's clean and elevated up through that front end. Just a very good one to win this class. I like the profile on this younger doe or smaller doe, one that certainly doesn't have the weight per day of age, not the fullness down that top, down through that rib cage. You know, you'd like to blow her apart as far as her rib cage is concerned, just more spring of rib. Like to see her wider based at the ground as she's moving away from you and coming toward you. It does concern me her ear placing a little bit. She's a little bit airplane ear, not as pendulous, and they're a little bit set a little bit farther back in her skull than ideal. And I think I'd like to see her a little more pendulous and as far as that ear is concerned, and not quite so airplane ear as you're viewing her from right from the front. But nice pair of those, just a little bit difference as far as maturity is concerned.
Congratulations to Tanya Ryan, first place showing Petrie. In second place, we have Lola Howard coming in with Shirley Love. We would now like to welcome class number 3, Doe Kids 6 to 9 months. We have 5 entries in this class. We can please go ahead and have class 4 making their way to the makeup ring, please.
really a kind of a difficult class to put together, in that there's nothing in here that really is alike as far as I guess you could. They're type and kind. You find something you like in one, and it kind of falls apart as you get back further in their body shape, body style, spring of rib, whatever. I'll just tell you the way I see them. I think they're most future in this doe we're starting with. One that's extremely elegant up through that front end, high to the point of the shoulder, really proud of herself, really thin and elegant up through that front end. And when you view her from the front, I think that's where she kind of delivers over these others. One to be as green and elegant in that front end as she is. I really like the way her legs and her feet come out of that shoulder. A little more square than anything else in the class, I think. And that transfers on back to her rear legs also. Really one that's really green, but as she comes at you and leaves you, she's really wide base at the ground. I think this one's got a lot of really good days ahead of her. Really green, but I appreciate that about her also. The second place, though, you kind of like her as far as the amount of bone, foot size that she's got. But as you get to analyzing her, you think maybe she's a little heavy-headed, and particularly in that jaw. I'd like to clean her up right to that jaw area, and then when you get back through that body, she wants to get a little steep, and from her hooks to her pins. I like to raise her hooks up a hair, make them a little wider based. As you get your hands on her, they're pretty narrow, and I'd like to change that about her. One that's really nice to look at from the side, but I don't like the way she comes out of that shoulder, in that she's really narrow when she comes out of that shoulder, and stays that way all the way to the ground. As she hits the ground, she wants to toe out a little bit as she moves around the ring or moves in the ring. And I'd like to change that about her, just make her wider based at the ground, and just kind of clean a few things as I described up about her. Then we've got a doe that, as far as being complete, I like her really well. Probably when you view her from the side, you think she's about as complete as because there's no big holes in her when you view her from the side. You get your hands on her, just not near the muscle down that top. I just like to bulk her up down that top. Amount of muscle she has down that top, down through that leg. I'd like to blow her apart. As far as the rib shape is concerned, you really don't notice that when you view her from the side, but when you get it right on top of her, she gets a little bit flat in that rib cage area. Then we get back to a doe that's really pretty when you first notice her, and she certainly is. But we get to analyzing her. You'd like to change that head about her. She wants to get a little bit narrow nosed. I call it Coke bottle nose, but that's just my term. And but she gets narrow nosed. You'd like to see her wider, and that muzzle's concerned. And you get right on top of her. She's flat in her rib design. She's flat in her structure design. If you could blow her apart as far as muscle and structure is concerned, I think she can move up in the class. What concerns me the most, though, is as narrow as she comes out of her shoulder, and she all the way to the ground. She's narrow at the shoulder, and then that stays that narrow all the way to the ground. I'd like to change that about her. And usually that follows if they're that way on the front end, that they're going to follow that way in the back end, and that's certainly true in her. Then we've got a doe that I like from her hip forward in this that conclude the class. One that's got some rib shape to her, got some soft at the center, but you notice even as green as she is, she's starting to pocket up right in that chest floor. Then she gets really steep from her hooks to her pins. You'd like to blow her apart, let her move a little wider to the ground from the back. One that's a little frail in her bone size and foot size, but one that certainly you can get her mated right and make a tremendous brood doe for this young lady. Congratulations.
Congratulations in this class of 6 to 9 months. First place, Roger Glass with Perla. Second place, Lola Howard with Mildred. Third place is Madison Baker with Allison's Ginger Snap. Fourth place, we have Stephanie Benningfield with Memo. And in fifth place, we have Allison's Lacy Ribbon, Madison Baker. Congratulations. We would now like to welcome Class 4, 9 to 12 months into the ring. Judge, you have 2 entries. We can get all of our first and second place winners for our juniors, if we can get those back in the makeup ring for championship drive next.
This class of 9 to 12s, I think we've got two really good specimens out here in front of us. I guess when they first came in, I probably prefer the look from the side of our second place doe. I think she's just a little more uh, higher to the point of the shoulder, but when you get to analyzing her, she's got a bit more chest. Uh, are starting to form some brisket there at even at a young age like this. But one tremendous amount of bone, tremendous amount of foot, and I think that's where when you first view them, probably you think that she uh, maintains herself a little better than our first place doe that I'm starting the class with. But when you get your hands on them, this paint doe is just tremendous as far as the muscles she's got down her top. And what really surprised me, muscle she's got in that lower leg. One that's really complete in her overall type and kind. Really like her head shape's concerned. Big bold rib in her, a deep a flank to her. One that's really sound in her movement. I think a nice pair of does, but I think the paint doe is just a bit more quality to her.
Congratulations in this class. First place goes to Bailey Burnham with Back Talk. Second place also goes to Bailey with Sweet Talkin'. Next up, we're going to do our junior championship drive. While we're pulling in that championship drive, if we could please go ahead and get Class 8 yearling does 16 to 20 months into the makeup ring. We have 5 entries.
this junior full blood drive is just really impressive as far as two or three individuals in this group of six out here. I think there's some differences in particularly the two reserves or the two in contention for reserve. I don't think there's a one out here that is really in contention for champion, except this paint doe out here will be your champion junior. And as you move this second place doe over here, I think it comes a bit closer as far as reserve in this second place doe and this doe up here in front. I think when you analyze these two does, the doe up front's probably a deeper jawed, a more Roman headed doe. I think she's probably a longer ribbed than the second place doe in that came out of that older class. I really like the height to the point of the shoulder, but as you get your hands on them, I think the smaller doe's certainly longer hipped, and I think she's a little wider pin. Therefore, I'm going to use the young doe for reserve junior here.
Congratulations. Our overall grand champion junior doe is Bailey Burnham with Back Talk. Our reserve grand champion goes to Tanya Ryan with Petrie. We'd now like to go ahead and call in that next class of our 16 to 20 month does. We have 5 entries in this class. While we're welcoming those entries into the ring, if we could please go ahead and have our 2 entries for the 20 to 24 months full blood Bordeaux. Come to the makeup room.
this class of yearlings, I think, kind of logically lines up as far as I'm concerned, and the way I look at them, and this doe we're starting with is certainly the longest from the tip of her tail to tip of her nose. One that's really big boned and big, massive footed to her. When you get your hands on her, she's got the most muscle down that top and carry it on down into that leg. I maybe like to extend her out a little bit up through that front end, make her a bit more elegant as she comes out of that shoulder, make her a little thinner necked, so to speak, a little more feminine up through that front end, but that's being pretty picky on a nice doe. Then the one that kind of logically goes in there second is this doe, the Cape doe. This young man has one that really appreciate the width she has as she comes out of that shoulder, really got a nice rib cage, round rib cage to her. One that is soft centered enough. You just like the way, change the way she's constructed in that hip. As she comes out of that hip, she wants to get a little bit low pin. I think as she moves away from you, she just wants to get too close for me as far as the way she moves her hocks and the way she hits the ground as she goes away from you. This paint doe that comes in third, I really like her from her hip forward. She's really wide base. She's sprung enough through that rib cage. I think she's elegant enough up through her front end. Really like the size of her jaw and the shape of her head. I just like to change her way she moves at the ground. She's light bone, a little bit frail in her bone size and foot size for me. I'd like to change that about her and maybe uh, a little more level of my hooks to her pins would be a nice addition also. Probably the most complete doe to look at is this red doe. One that concerns me a little bit as far as her teat placement is concerned, and one that's more moderate in her overall frame size. One you get your hands on her, just doesn't have the muscle down that top and down through that leg of the bigger, bulkier does that we've got in front of her. Then we conclude the class with doe that's much like the doe right in front of her. One that I'd like to change the way she moves off her rear legs, gets a little bit fine boned, a little bit small footed for me, but a nice class all the way down.
Congratulations. First place in this class is Ruby Baker, showing Allison's Maybe. Second and third place go to Roger Glass. Fourth place is Roger Glass's Boer's Painted Pretty. And fifth place is Roger Glass At Last. Now I'd like to welcome in class number 9. There are 2 entries in this class. This is the yearling does, 20 to 24 months. After this, we will be doing the yearling championship drive.
Uh, nice, close placing in this. We just got two in here, but I think the red doe that I'm starting with is certainly the longest body of the two. I think she's elegant enough up through her front end. I don't think she's the most elegant of the two. I think the second place doe probably is highest to the point of her shoulder, but the second place doe kind of concerns me, and the placement of her way she comes out of that shoulder scapula. Her shoulder or legs are coming out of that scapula just a little too far forward. She gets a little bit straight right through that shoulder, particularly in her movement. One that when you get to analyzing her a little bit, she wants to knee in just a little bit and not probably as sound as off the front end as our red doe is. Our red doe that I'm starting the class with, I think is tremendous down that top when you get your hands on her. What you see, just a tremendous top in her, tremendous amount of muscle, tremendous rib shape, really sound in her movement. I like the way she blends in right there at that shoulder. She's set back, her legs are set back in that shoulder a little more appropriately as far as her overall structure design. Really sound at the ground as she goes away from me. A nice pair of those, and I wouldn't complain much if you wanted to switch them, other than I would tell you what I thought about the difference in the two. But a nice pair of those. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Coming in first place is Tally Downs with Whiskey's Irish Red. In second place is Crystal O'Connell. And coming in now, we are going to have our championship drive for our yearling does.
Nice yearling drive. Maybe not as much differences as far as these yearlings as there was in the kid classes, but I think we've got a pair of those that kind of fit together as far as structurally. Uh, they're more appropriate in their structural design, their ease of movement, all the angles through their shoulder and through that hip. I think they're more appropriate than the other does out here. I think there's a differences as far as the height to the point of the shoulder, and that's what kind of separates them as far as the champion and the reserve. The reserve gets a little bit low in that shoulder, runs a little bit downhill, maybe not as elegant up through that front end. But your traditional doe right here, these two young ladies have will be your champion, and the red doe right behind her will be reserved.
Congratulations to our grand champion yearling, to Ruby Baker with Allison's Maybe, our reserve grand champion. Tally Downs with Whiskey's Irish Red. Okay, so now we're ready for seniors, right? Okay. All right, we're now ready for our senior class. This is class 12, 24 to 36 months. We have one entry in this class. We can go ahead and get the rest of those seniors to start making their way up to the makeup ring.
Nice single entry in this a yearling doe class, one that I like quite well as far as the length of body that she has, the depth of jaw, the shape of her head, shape of her horn, one that's high to the point of the shoulder, one that runs uphill, and I certainly appreciate that. Those in any species, those animals that go downhill have a tendency to not last as long as far as being productive as the ones that are high to the point of the shoulder and kind of run uphill. One thing about that is when they run downhill, they've always got their intestines riding against their heart and their whole chest cavity. And when they're uphill, they have a tendency to not have all that weight against them. And I think that will cause them to maybe live just a little bit longer and be a little bit more productive as they go on down the road. But one that's really nice. Her udder concerns me a little bit in that it's a little heavier on one side. I don't know whether something is nursed her, and sometimes when we've got these a pen of young does or whatever, they get messing around and nursing on each other, and that kind of messes the shape of their udder. But I think that's the only minus I've got in this doe. I really like her as far as her foot size, her bone size, and good job, young lady. I understand that's your first time in the ring. You've done an excellent job.
Congratulations to Stephanie Benningfield with Born to Be Sweet. And Stephanie, if you'll just hang out in there because we'll bring you right back in. We're now going to welcome in our single entry for senior does 36 and over. And then we will do our senior championship drive.
Single entry, But like a lot of these single entries that we've had in these classes, one that could certainly stand competition. One I really like as far as her overall presentation, her overall look to her. She's really long bodied. She's deep enough in that chest floor, and still she comes back to a really deep plank. I think she's got that maternal wedge as you view her from the side. I think she also has it when you view her from the back. Just a very nice doe. It's really sound in her movement. As you look at her head, if you'll notice how a Roman nose she is and how wide her muzzle is, and any kind of species, I think that she doesn't have to take as much grain or as many bites, and I think that really helps as far as that muzzle width is concerned. Just a very nice senior doe.
Congratulations to our 24 to 36-month senior doe, Stephanie. Whoop, no, that's the 36 and over. Tally Downs with Name and Lights. We would now like to welcome back our Class 12 winner as well for our Senior Doe Championship Drive. After our senior drive, we're going to welcome back all of our winners to do our overall full blood for doe championship drive.
Really, in this senior drive, this is probably as close a decision that I've had to make all day. In that there's things I like about both these does. As I said about the younger doe in class one, it's really elevated right in that point of her shoulder. One that's really deep in that rib cage, and that carries on to a nice deep chest, but really tight in her chest floor, and I appreciate that about her. One that concerns me a little bit in her udder shape, but now that is being very nitpicky. And then we've got an older doe that I certainly prefer as far as her udder shape is concerned. I think when you get your hands on them, she's certainly the most muscular down the top. Still, she's not overpowering and to the point where she'll have trouble kidding. I don't think. I think she's very high to the point of the shoulder, also not as high as the younger doe, but I prefer her head shape and her muzzle shape. The older doe will be your champion, and the younger doe will be your reserve.
Congratulations to Taylor Downs. She is our champion of senior does. Our grand reserve champion is Stephanie Benningfield with Born to Be Sweet. We will now have our overall full blood championship drive.
really proud of the 6 individuals we've got out here for champion full blood. As you look at this junior, you really like the style that she has. She's just pretty to look at. Not only her color markings, but the way she's made. As she goes around the ring, she's really flexible in all her joints. Still, she's big ribbed and that one with enough muscle, particularly through that leg. And that's the one thing that lots of times you'll find one with a lot of top in them, and the way they won't carry on that in that leg, over that rump, and down through that leg. And we've got your yearling that's really long, as I said before, probably the most muscular of the yearlings that we've had out here. Big footed and big boned. I think she's extended enough up through her front end. She's not tremendously extended, but I think that's certainly enough that you can certainly tell she's feminine and got some maternity, or at least you hope some maternal ability to her. Then we've got a yearling doe that, as the junior doe matures, you hope she turns into one that's really can maintain herself when she gets that old, keep that much muscle, that much quality to her, and still be fresh enough that you can take her out here and show her and not get stale as far as her overall appearance is concerned. Still be fresh up through that head, through that neck. Then you get over to the seconds, as I said, in the certain drives or the senior drive. I like the reserve senior really well. Really like she's made, particularly from her hip forward, and really feminine up through that front end. Just concerns me a little bit about her udder shape. Then the red doe that we use for reserve, very complete in her overall type and kind, really wide. As you view it from the front and from the front, she's really wide at the ground. Maybe like to extend her a little bit and make her a bit more feminine, a little more keen up through that front end, but that's being pretty picky. And then we've got the reserve junior, as I said, as you get your hands on her, really muscular down that top. Really like her head shape, like that pendulous ear on her, long bodied, got some muscle in her, and got a nice future to her. Today, the doe that I prefer out here will be this junior doe for your champion. And then I'm going back here for the senior for reserve.
Congratulations to our grand champion, Bailey Burnham, with Back Talk. And our reserve grand champion today goes to Naaman Lights, owned by Tally Downs. We are now ready for our percentage bucks. If we could go ahead and have both of those, because we have two single entries. So if we could go ahead and get the others coming up. Full blood bucks, if you will go ahead and start getting ready, we will be coming to you soon.
I'm certainly glad the fellow leading this buck and I have had the conversation about what a plus it is that the American Boer Goat Association started admitting percentage bucks. There's just been a lot of good bucks that do the industry a lot of good that's been sent to the meat market. And here's a case where it's been ashamed to send one like this and this much quality, as wide based and as much shape as he has. I think this is one that as you add him a little more feed to him as he matures, I think this would be one that would really improve a lot of herds, not only percentage herds, but commercial herds or however you wanted to use this buck. I think it'd be a plus.
Congratulations, Jason Bashir with Backwoods Heathen. We are now ready for our second class in the percentage buck show, 9 to 12 months. There's one entry in this class. Correction, this is a 6 to 9 months class.
Here's another case, like I was talking about, this buck, until they added the percentage buck in the registry, I think this would have been a shame to send a buck like this to market. One that, much like the other one in the class, big bone, big footed, just got a lot of shape to him, just got a nice future to him. And Jackie and everybody else will tell you, little girls with bows in their hair usually wins the class, what I'm judging anyway. Nice job.
Congratulations to Miss Tatum Thomas, showing Christoph for first place. We will now do our percentage buck championship drive.
We've just got two entries in the percentage bucks. Therefore, these two bucks will be your champion percentage buck and your reserve. Just two bucks that's much alike, really wide sprung on both ends, got a lot of shape to them, just got a lot of future to them, a lot of improvements. They can do a lot of hurt. I think the difference, as far as I'm concerned, the young man with black paint doesn't have a bow in his hair, so I'm gonna use this little girl right here.
Congratulations to Miss Tatum Thomas for her overall grand champion percentage buck with Christoph. And congratulations to Jason Bashir with Backwoods Heathen. We are now ready for our full blood bucks. We would like to welcome them into the ring. Our first class of full blood bucks is class 1, 0 to 3 months. This is a single entry class.
Zero to three you know, these young ones change a lot as they grow. You get feed in them, and they mature. Usually, they just get ornerier as they mature on these bucks, and I'm sure this one won't be quite as sweet as he gets older. But this little girl's having a fun time with him, and I certainly think she's doing a good job presenting him to me. One that's got a big old top in him, nice leg. I think he matures, he'll just develop into quite a nice individual for this young lady. And you do a great job showing.
Congratulations, Miss Ann Brown. And she is showing Ernest Hemingway. We now like to welcome in our next class of 3 to 6 month full blood bucks. We have 2 entries in this class. 30, 40 years ago. We can go ahead and get those 9 to 12-month bucks in the makeup ring. They will be coming in next.
Just a really nice buck to win this class. One that's kind of my kind, and he's also Jackie's kind because he's a bottle baby, and they never act good. So I mean, that's kind of typical for a bottle baby. But also, one I asked her, hey, it was bred, and he's out of actually a buck that's out of an old buck that we had to kill his buck, and really he looks a lot like his grandpa did at that age, and I guess that's what kind of enthuses me about this buck kid, one that I think got a tremendous future in him. Big bone, big footed, and still green enough, got a lot of grow in him. Then the young man that has the black paint, one that's really attractive in his type and kind, but when you compare it to the one ahead of him, you just like to see more performance in him as far as growth and size is concerned. But the young man does a tremendous job as far as showing the buck. Good job. Good job.
Congratulations to Miss Crystal O'Connor with Baby Driver. And in our second place is Stephanie Benningfield with Shakid. Next, we'd like to welcome in our 9 to 12-month class. We have 2 entries in this class as well. After this one, we will go ahead and be doing our junior championship drive.
nice pair of bucks out here. Differences in them mainly because of age, I think. But the one we got to start the class is traditional buck. Certainly the biggest weight per day of age of the two. He's most muscular. He's most desirable as far as profile is concerned. Extended to his front end. Just one that you really have to like. Then we've got the second place buck, not as mature and muscular as our first place buck. But I think there's lots of places we can use a buck like this to get some milk and get some color in your goat herd. I think he's got a place in the industry also. Nice job and congratulations.
Congratulations to our 9 to 12-month bucks. In first place, we have Crystal O'Connell with Baba Yaga. And second place, we have Christopher Rowland with Paint My Lights. We'd now like to welcome back those first and second place junior winners. We're going to do our junior championship drive. We can go ahead and start getting those full blood yearling bucks up to the makeup ring. We have several single entry classes there.
This junior buck drive, really not a hard decision for me at all. The one in the middle is the one that I like just really well. Big bone, big footed, got a nice feature in him. Really muscular. Really like the head in him and that deep jaw and that big old Roman nose. Here's one that I like quite well. In reserve, I'm gonna get this buck right behind him that this young lady has. Even though she doesn't have ribbon in her hair, I think he certainly deserves the reserve. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Coming in for our grand champion junior buck is Crystal O'Connell. Sorry. She knows who she is with Baby Driver. And also our reserve is Crystal with Baba Yaga. Congratulations.
nice, muscular yearling buck here. One that's got I think nice use in the full blood industry or the percentage industry, either one. One that's really good right behind the shoulder as far as his depth of rack is, his width of rack. That carries on back to a big old strong loin and a nice hip and leg to him. One that you can tell he's in rut, and that hard to control one like that. But here's one that I really like. And I like that black head in him and the black cape in him. I think that's really a desirable thing as far as marketing our full blood or our percentage goats. Just a really nice buck.
Congratulations to our 16 under 20 months reign of glory, shown by Tally Downs. Next, we have Class 9, yearling bucks 20 to 24 months. We have one entry in this class. After this, we'll do our yearling championship drive, and then we'll be ready for our class of seniors. Class 12 will be after that.
These yearling buck classes, it's a shame they don't have some competition in these classes. Here's one that's really nice as far as his profile is concerned. Really up fronted, high to the point of the shoulder. Really got a nice angle as get back to that rear end or that swope or swoop to that rear leg from his hooks to his pins and down that leg. Here's one that could stand some competition. He's got enough muscle in him. Still, he's not overly conditioned. And I think sometimes we get these yearling bucks and we just feed them too hard and they lose some of their libido. And I think here's one that I think is really in perfect condition to turn out with a does or whatever you decide to do with it.
Congratulations, Stephanie Benningfield with Pistol Strike Force. We are now ready for our yearling drive. After this, we'll be ready for our senior class, Class 12, be a single entry in that class.
not very many yearlings, but I think there's a lot of quality in these two out here. The one I prefer as far as overall look to him, his overall completeness as far as balance is concerned. The one that's got the most top and most actual product down through that leg will be this black headed buck will be a yearling champion. Then the one right behind him will be reserved.
Congratulations to our champion yearling buck, Tally Downs, with the Reign of Glory. And our reserve yearling buck is Pistol Style Force, Stephanie Benningfield. We're now ready for our Class 12 senior bucks. This is a single entry class.
Here's an older, mature buck, one that you really have to like his shape is concerned as far as height he has up through his front end. Really big bone, big footed, and got some muscle in him. One that I think you could use either in commercial end or percentage end or full blood, however you'd want to use him. I think there's enough quality there and enough goodness in him you could do that. I'd like to change maybe the way he moves off those rear wants to scoot a little bit for me, but one I think has got a tremendous amount of quality to him.
Congratulations to Taylor Downs with Lockdown. This is the winner of this class and our champion senior buck. We would now like to bring back our yearling and all of our bucks so that we could do our overall full blood buck championship drive. While our judge is making his final decisions on our full blood bucks, we want to go ahead and thank Tom Redden again for coming and judging for us this year's show, 2026. We truly appreciate him and everyone else coming out to watch. We hope you all have enjoyed it. We hope to see you again next year.
Well, as we conclude the show, I certainly considered it a great privilege to hear judge the Kentucky State Fair, one that I've kind of grown up with all my life as far as exhibiting livestock, and I can remember what this ground used to look like when they first moved it over here, and how much change there was just from when it moved it over here to when International was moved down here, and I think it was moved down here in '73 or '74. The North American used to be the International Livestock Show at Chicago, and I think the people are to be certainly commended for the job they've done in improving the facility, and really Kentucky's always been an agriculture backed deal. They brought the Department of Agriculture. Excuse me, the Department of Agriculture has always encouraged juniors and seniors alike in the livestock industry, and I certainly appreciate that. I think as we get these uh, bucks out here, I think there's one that has pleased me the first time I saw him, and I think this junior buck, I think he'll be your champion, grand champion full blood buck. Then for reserve, I think it's a bit closer. I like this senior buck real well, and I think there's a place for him. But today he's just not moving as well off his rear legs I'd like to see him, and the one I like second best will be this black-headed buck. Will be your reserve. Good job. He's not behaving like
Congratulations to our grand champion, Crystal O'Connell, with Baby Driver. Our reserve grand champion buck goes to Tally Downs with Reign of Glory. Congratulations to all of our exhibitors. We truly appreciate you all. We do need to make one more announcement about our Herdsman Award. The person who is winning this year's 2026 Herdsman Award is Miss Bailey.